All right, let's talk about an airline with a story that's just wild. We're diving into Pakistan International Airlines. And this isn't just any airline's history. It's a tale of soaring to the absolute top of the world and then a fall that's almost unbelievable. Think about this for a second. On one hand, you have an airline that literally helped create Emirates. Yeah, that Emirates. And on the other, it gets banned from flying to Europe, the UK, and the US. How on earth does that happen? That's the core question we're going to unpack today. How did this high flyer fall so far, so fast? So to really get this, we've got to go way back. We're talking 1946, even before Pakistan was officially a country. The idea came from its founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He knew this new nation would need its own airline, and so Orient Airways was born. What's incredible is that it was the very first and only Muslim-owned airline in British India. And from the moment Pakistan became independent, Orient Airways was more than just an airline. It was a lifeline. It was running relief flights, and maybe most importantly, it was the only thing connecting the two separate parts of the country, East and West Pakistan. It was so vital that by 1955 it was nationalized, and that's when it officially became Pakistan International Airlines, or PIA. It was, a symbol of a new country ready to take on the world. Okay, now we get to the good part. The 60s and 70s, this was PIA's golden age. I mean, truly. With these amazing leaders at the helm, guys like Air Marshals Noor Khan and Asghar Khan, PIA wasn't just keeping up with other airlines, it was setting the pace. They had this slogan, great people to fly with. And you know what? It wasn't just some catchy phrase, it was actually true. Check out this number, 938.78 kilometers per hour. What is that? Well, it's a world record that PIA set back in 1962. And guess what? It still stands today. A PIA Boeing 720B flew from London to Karachi at that insane speed. That's the fastest flight ever on a commercial route. Just wow. Talk about being on top of your game. And that record, it was just the beginning. The list of firsts for PIA is just mind-blowing. They were only the second airline in all of Asia to get a jet. They were the first airline from a non-communist country to fly to China in 1964. Think about how huge that was back then. Oh, and in-flight movies? Yeah, they were the first international airline to have them. And as we mentioned, they literally helped get Emirates started. It's just innovation after innovation. But look, it wasn't just about being cool and innovative. They were making serious money. By 1967, according to its own leader, Air Marshal Asghar Khan, PIA was the fifth largest profit-making airline in the world. Let that sink in. The entire world. They were flying 1 million people a year. This was an absolute giant, at the very peak of its game. But you know how these stories go. After every incredible peak comes the descent. And for PIA, that started in the late 70s and really picked up speed through the 80s and 90s. All that energy that was focused on being the best in the world, it started turning inward, towards politics and problems at home. So what went wrong? Well, a huge part of it was political interference. Suddenly, running the airline wasn't about finding the best person for the job. It became about political appointments. Management was constantly changing. People were hired to repay political favors, and powerful unions started to undermine that disciplined culture that had made PIA great. It was a classic case of politics getting in the way of business. And you can see the result right here. All those political hires led to a massive, bloated workforce. In 1981, get this, PIA had almost 700 employees for every single plane. 700! That's one of the highest ratios in the entire world. It's just unsustainable. And even though they cut that number down over the years, the damage was done. It was a financial anchor dragging the airline down. So you've got these long-term problems bubbling under the surface for years. Well, in the 21st century, they didn't just bubble, they exploded. We're talking about a full-on nosedive with scandal, massive debt, and global bans that would make headlines everywhere. $3.3 billion. That was the mountain of debt PIA was under by the end of 2018. The airline was basically broke. It couldn't survive on its own anymore. The only thing keeping the planes flying was constant, huge bailouts from the government. And then, the bombshell. In 2020, following a tragic crash, an investigation uncovered something that just shook the entire aviation world.
262 pilots. That's how many were found to have, and I'm quoting the aviation minister here, suspicious or fake licenses. We're talking about nearly a third of the country's pilots. The accusation was that many had cheated on their exams. It was a crisis of trust on an unbelievable scale.
The reaction from the rest of the world was immediate, and it was brutal. The European Union's Aviation Safety Agency, ESA, saw this and, citing major safety concerns, just banned PIA completely. No more flights to Europe.
And right after that, the UK did the same thing. The UK was a huge market for PIA, incredibly important for them. Didn't matter. They were banned there too.
And then, to make it a hat trick, the US followed suit. Same reasons, major concerns about pilot safety. So just like that, in a few short weeks, this once great airline was completely shut out of the Western world, from a global leader to a global pariah. So that brings us pretty much to the present day. After hitting what you have to call rock bottom, PIA has been in a fight for its life. The big question is, can it pull itself out of this? Can it reform? Can it privatize? And maybe most importantly, can it win back the world's trust? And you know, there were some good signs, some real glimmers of hope. After years of hard work, both the EU and the UK have finally lifted their bans. That's a huge deal. But the road ahead is still super tough. They recently tried to privatize the airline, but the only offer they got was way too low. It just goes to show how much work is still left to do. So that's the story, and it leaves us with one big final question. Can Pakistan International Airlines ever get back to what it once was? I mean, it went from being this incredible symbol of national pride, a true pioneer, to a cautionary tale of what can go wrong. It's fighting to get its legacy back, for sure, but whether it can ever fly as high as it did in its golden age, well, that's a flight path nobody can predict.